Okay, hi. So I want to just do a kind of brief overview of kind of how this is going to work now that we're all working online. I know today is the first official day, and I have no idea what is going on in your other classes. Feel free to let me know. But I'm going to try to make this class about as straightforward and as clear as possible. So to that end, everything will be on one page, one web page, and I'll just kind of have everything run off that page. So that address you see there, whatever you need to do to remember that one, that's the one you're going to go to. I'll send announcements through Blackboard because that's the one that the school has asked us to use. But nothing else will be housed in Blackboard. And I can explain that if necessary. The main thing is my experience, Blackboard tends to go down, whereas Academic Commons will be up. So I'm not really worried about that aspect of it. So like I said, everything will be in one site. And I'm just giving you screenshots here. I worked on this site this morning, so basically I'm going to give you an overview. I'd like you to watch these two videos. This is more just like entertainment value. Just get an overview of the kind of idea of what the sustainable development goals are. I then have organized the readings into two categories. So some students like to have a textbook. I'll be honest, I think textbooks are pure garbage, but if you want a textbook, I guess some people like garbage, right? Then you can click there. I've got a textbook that you can use. It seems like you have to sign up, provide your email, and then they give you a textbook. I didn't write the textbook, so I can't guarantee that the information is accurate. But sometimes it's helpful for students if they require kind of like visuals or backgrounds. I'm going to provide all that information. But again, if you want it, I'm not going to tell you, no, you can't have it. So there's an optional textbook there. The rest of the required readings are going to be hyperlinks. And I'm going to go over that in a second, but those are going to be pretty straightforward. You already have one of them, right? So the article that we went through, it's going to be similar to that. The only other one that's maybe a little bit complicated, but I'm going to explain it a lot, are the federal rules of evidence. And again, I'm going to explain those in detail. And then the grading assignments will follow that kind of same pattern. And I'm going to break everything down into little pieces. And I think that should make it easier. If you get behind, right, I always have two minds of this. If you get behind on the one hand, don't worry, right? I'm not going to punish you. But on the other hand, it's going to get harder to catch back up. So if you start falling behind, you need to email me and let me know so that we can do something about it. So getting right to it, the materials, like I said, there's the optional textbook there. It's on the website. You can click the link and then sign up if you want. But again, you don't have to do that. You will be able to do well in this class without doing that. Then you see down in the bottom, you've got A through E. Those are the readings for the course. So you already have the first one, CSI Science. I'm going to do a video lecture that kind of would have done what we would have done in class. That kind of explains the rest of that because I know we kind of left it unfinished. The federal rules of evidence are there. Mostly just look at the table of contents for now and just get a feel for how is this organized, just so you kind of know that these are the things that lawyers have to use and judges have to use to determine what is going to be included in a trial. And so when we're doing our legal research, even if we're not talking about a trial, this is how judges and lawyers think. They think about the federal rules of evidence. It's a required class in law school. It's just one of those things that kind of it's one of the ideologies, one of the mental models, one of the ideas that kind of circulates among people who think about the law. If you think of even going back to CSI and you watch the TV shows when they talk about chain of custody, that comes from the federal rules of evidence, right? So even people who seem like they're not involved, they're still operating under those rules. Then you have two cases, Scott versus Sanford, and then Chevron, which you're going to learn a lot about later. But those two cases you're going to brief. I'm going to show you how to do that. It's not going to be, a huge deal. You're going to kind of learn how to read a case in a very specific way. And then one more article that kind of, sometimes I would call it a bookend, right? So on one end, you had the CSI as wishful thinking. So then really what is law, right? And so that last article will be about what is law in reality. And so it's looking at basketball pickup games. And for those of you who've never played a basketball pickup game, we did a lot where I grew up. But they're pretty interesting. I mean, to me, you could compare it, like if you don't know anything about basketball, you can compare it to the game of tag that like kids play, right? So everybody kind of knows there are rules, but nobody ever agrees to what the rules are. And kind of what happens throughout a game is that people start to disagree about the rules, and somehow they either resolve it or, sometimes they don't. Or I mean, they resolve it without resolving it. In other words, violence, right? So you can see like rule making and law comes from like this interchange between people about some kind of game or some situation. On that reading, I'm going to have you actually look it up on your own, and I'm going to show you how to do that. And this is the tool I kind of want you to use if, and this is not required. That's my cat breaking into the sink. But that's going to be required for you to actually do your research, right? So you don't necessarily have to do an additional article. It might be helpful and you might want to. It might be clearer for you. But I'm not going to require you to do that just because of the difficulty of doing this online. But there might be extra credit assignments that you could do that for. Okay, so the majority of your work, the thing that's going to matter the most in this class, is this research paper. But I don't want you to get upset about it, and I don't want you to really start to worry about it. So like, for example, don't ask me how many pages it is right now, because I'm going to kind of adapt that to how you're doing. All right, so we'll kind of do a little bit at the beginning, and we'll see, okay, you might be able to do 5 pages, so we're going to do 5 pages, okay? We might do 7 pages. It's not going to be 25 pages. It's not going to be 12 pages. I really want you to get into the practice of writing a paper a certain way so that when you leave here, whether it's this semester or you transfer, whatever, right, you know exactly how to write a paper for this discipline, for this kind of within criminal justice, within the Justice Academy, within law and society. Also, political science and sociology follow the same pattern. So the big, broad topic we're thinking about, and it is a very big, broad topic, is law as social change. And so I'm going to talk a lot about how law is used to change things and how social change happens. We're going to be using the UN Sustainability Goals. You'll watch those 2 videos and you'll kind of see that pretty much everything is going to be included in that. I might point out ahead of time, there is one thing that isn't being connected in the UN Sustainability Goals. So if you want to do extra credit, this is a project you could do with me. The relationship between global migration, the movement of human beings, and then the climate crisis, specifically sea rise, those are not connected in the UN Sustainability Goals. And I'll tell you more about that throughout this class from time to time. And then if you want to do extra credit, I'll tell you a whole lot more about it. But it's interesting that those 2 things aren't connected. And it wasn't, I mean, it might have been intentional, I don't know, but it seems like it wasn't intentional. Then we're going to take like this big global view and we're going to apply it locally, and we're going to think about injustice on a very local level. Now, when I say local, I mean it starts with you, right? So you're going to define local based on your network, and I'm going to teach you all about actor network theory next week. So you're going to think about like who are the people in your life, and then where do they go? And it's kind of an interesting time right now because people are mostly going in very direct A to B patterns, right? So they're going from one place to the other. Whereas normally, right, we normally go 16, 20 different places per day without even really thinking about it. So this is kind of a perfect opportunity to really like trace actor network theory. I know it's like a terrible situation, right? But on the other hand, we want to try to keep, as the Governor Cuomo said, we want to try to like keep it optimistic. Otherwise, we'll all go nuts. I'm going to break everything down into pieces. So again, I don't want you to really worry about it. If you look on the right-hand side, you'll see I'm going to give equal points to each of these parts. So it's going to be hard for you not to get all 75 points. And that's not an accident, right? 75 points gets you right at a C. So if you do this project, you have at least a C. Everything else you do is going to, boost your grade. So I want everybody to pass in this class. So, take a big sigh of relief, pat yourself on the back. Like everybody's going to pass this class. The very first assignment you're going to do is just to draft a thesis statement. Now, I'm going to practice with you to do like inquiry questions and brainstorm, so you're not going to start this just yet. And that's going to be due April 1st. But again, you're not going to be graded harshly on this. I just want you to practice. Where you're going to be like getting feedback from me is through like each phase of this process. You're going to have a thesis, then you're going to do your field research, then you're going to brief your cases, then you're going to start to pull everything together. And I think this is like probably the hardest thing for students, so I'm going to do a lot of support in this area. And then you're going to give me a draft as a Google Doc. So there's lots of YouTube videos. I'll probably share a couple on how to do this, but probably most of you are aware of how to do this. That's going to be due May 14th, so you have time, right? I'm not trying to rush you at all. And then we're going to revise that paper, and you can send me more than one draft. With this class, I'm going to spend like quite a lot of time with you one-on-one over email and over Google Docs. So again, don't worry. And then the final research paper will be June 4th. I'm going to have a checklist for you, and I'm either going to accept it or I'm going to send it back to you to revise because maybe you missed something. So I want everybody to get their 75 points, and I'm going to make sure that that happens. This is going to be a guided process, like I said, so I'm going to help you through each stage. My goal is that you will never worry about writing a research paper again. There's 43 students in this class. I suppose we'll probably have somewhere, I have 34 responses on Google Forms, so I have to track down those other students. But let's just say at the very least 34 of you are going to be able to write a research paper in the kind of way where you can hold on to it, submit it, for applications, for scholarships, etc. But more importantly, that you won't have to worry about this ever again. You're going to know how to write a research paper in this field. So you're going to apply the course content, the readings, your independent research, your field work, and then you're going to take these cases and you put everything together. This is how you write A papers at the next level. And so I'm going to kind of teach you in anticipation of what your future is going to look like. I'm going to assume that we're all going to still be here. So the midterm and the final exam, actually, I think that skipped a slide. Yeah. So the assignments, right? The diagnostic is going to be kind of like pretty basic, right? I just want to kind of see where you are, and then I'm going to break everything down into pieces to kind of build you up so that make sure that you're getting it, and then I can start to see where the gaps are. What are you having troubles with? Like I said, there's 40-something students in the class, so everybody's going to have like a different thing that they're good at and a different thing that they're struggling with. So this is going to like be good for me to give you good responses. And then I can give you extra credit options based on kind of the progress that you're making. These assignments are going to be graded pass-fail, so you don't really have to worry about like how many points do I have. We were going to do that in the in-person class, but now that's not really necessary. So basically, you're just going to like, if you do all this work, okay, you're going to get a boost in your grade. And I think, let's say like you got your 75 points, this would then take you up like another 10 points, okay? So then you'd go from a C to a B. And then so the only thing that's really going to make the difference is then the midterm and the final exam, which I'll go over in a second. On the other hand, right, if you don't do these assignments, and I mean all of them, right, you got to do all of them or else I can't really help you, then I'm going to lower your grade, right? I normally don't do that, but in this case, I cannot like lose you in May, right? I need to be able to like make sure that you're staying on task. Because writing a research paper is not something you do at the last minute, even though, let's be honest, some of you, right, this is what you've been doing. So I'm going to teach you how to get out of that habit by making it way easier. So you're going to think about this later and go, man, I should just do it this way forever. That's my goal. So you'll see like this list, and there's more things, but I just want to make it like pretty easy, right? So you're going to do one thing on March 20th. You're going to do the next thing on March 23rd, the next thing on March 24th, the next thing on March 27th, the next thing on March 30th, and then so on, right? These are not going to be huge, hard assignments. Okay, and I mean that. Like this is going to be like literally like the one you might struggle with a little bit is the actor network map, but only because you've never done it before. At the end of I've done this with students in the past. It's a really simple assignment, but you might struggle for like 10 minutes to try to think, okay, where do I start? My suggestion is the beginning. Always start at the beginning, and when you get to the end, stop. The workshop video will be simple. Okay. The brainstorm will be simple. The diagnostic is just gonna like be you just talking to me, telling me like in your free write, like what have you learned so far? So like in the first like week and a half, I'm really just trying to get you back into the mindset of being a student, because I know that we've all like had a week off as if like we were never coming back again. But apparently we're back, and we're going to be together for a little while, at least virtually. So the midterm is going to be more like the diagnostic. So it's not going to be like super complicated. In fact, you're going to be the ones who come up with the questions, and then you're going to answer those based on the course content. So I don't want you really to stress about it. It's just going to be a way of making sure everybody's on the same page, and you'll be able to see like what are other students doing without us having to do all these complicated like technology things that, frankly, if they're trying to do that in your other classes, just be ready for all those things not to work. Spring break is April 8th, 19th. And I'm saying, like, take the time off or work on, work that you hadn't got done yet. I mean, it's going to be up to you. I'm going to do, like, when I get the midterm back, I'm going to make some feedback for all of you. And then you're going to turn that feedback into a table that you're going to make that you're going to use for your final exam. So I hope you're seeing what's going on there. The final and the midterm are going to be connected. So I can't tell you much about the final exam yet because I have to see what you do on the midterm. But I'm going to make the final exam respond to what you did on the midterm. So basically, if you think about it, we're kind of all making this class together, organized around a research paper about injustice and the United Nations Sustainability Goals. That's really like all the class is going to be. So it's going to be very straightforward, very simple, and then the work is going to be broken down into pieces so that we can build up to this final piece. So then that leaves me only like with my work, right? So I'm going to make a lot of lectures on video like this, right? So I can have pictures, I can have video, I can all the other stuff that kind of I can't do in the classroom. I'm going to try to do this way. So it's just going to be slides with voiceover, and then these are going to be housed on my YouTube channel. You can kind of see down on the bottom, Jason Michael Leggett is the YouTube handle. I have a lot of YouTube videos on there if you want to watch them. I also have a SoundCloud podcast if that's helpful. Those are usually like hour-long conversations. I did one last night. So I mean, there'll be a lot of extra resources. You don't have to like watch them all or read them all or listen to them all. But if you find yourself like saying, okay, I didn't quite understand this concept, Jason has this thing here, like that's what I'm doing it for. All of the links, everything you need is going to be on that one webpage, right, that I gave you at the very beginning. So you're just going to go to that. I'm going to send it out through Blackboard. And then that's just like where you're going to live. I'm going to break everything down to you. I'm going to expand on some topics, right? I'll give you more information. And then I think like the way that we're going to need to talk to each other basically is through email and then Google Forms. We'll be working together on Google Docs. And so I think we'll be okay. I mean, in some ways, from working at Kingsborough for 10 years, I know that a lot of students have anxiety or are worried about doing a research paper. I'm trying to take that away from you. And to be honest with you, doing it this way, I think will be easier than if we were in class, right? Because this way I can kind of get your work pretty quickly and I can respond to you a lot quicker than if we were like physically in class together. The bad side, right, is that we all have to like learn this new way of doing work. So again, I'm not really trying to do too much in this class. I want to keep it really simple, straight to the point, and not overload you. So I want to answer now like a couple of the questions that you all asked. So I think I've addressed all the people that have said like, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to stay on task throughout the semester, not knowing like how to do this work. Like that's what I'm addressing. That was a lot. A lot of you said that. I got 34 responses and a lot of you said that. So I'm going to do this like, as much as I can, respond to where you are as you're kind of going through the process. Like think of me more of like a coach who's getting you closer to your goal. And in this case, we all have a shared goal, right? Of writing the best research papers we can. We are not going to have like what some people are calling, I'm not even going to start, it's synchronized, right? Like synchronized swimming. That's hard enough at like the Olympic level. So try to imagine like the classes that are trying to do that. No, I'm not trying to do that. You can do this work whenever you can, right? I know a lot of you are going to be disrupted and displaced by everything that's going on. So I'm not trying to make anything harder for you. In fact, even like the deadlines, all I'm kind of trying to say to you is like, I need you to do as best as you can with the deadlines so that I can respond back to you. If you get behind, you have to understand that I have 4 classes, right? So that's over 120 students that I have to manage all online. So assume that like 30 students are going to get behind out of the whole group. That throws the whole timing off. You see what I mean? So, try to stay up with the deadline. But, right, if you fall behind, don't vanish, right? Get the work done when you can. Keep me updated. Let me know how everything's going. That's just going to have to be the way it is. And I understand that. But to be clear, we're not doing anything at the same time. So I'm not trying to have you be online at the same time as our class. I think that's ridiculous, to be honest with you. And I don't care who knows it. We're not doing live web lectures. for the same reasons. I mean, it's just way too difficult. I'm thinking about doing like Zoom video calls. Like I said for my other class, and a lot of you are in my other class, so it's the same problem. It's like trying to schedule that, right? Because I have to spend, like, let's say 3 hours a day I have to spend just reading through the work that you're giving me. Then I have to respond to probably 30 to 40 students per day. That's another 3 hours. Then I have to create new content. That's another 3 hours, right? So you see, I'm already at 9 hours a day. So I'm not sure how, like, I'll have a better idea around spring break time about whether we can do Zoom conferences. So what I'll probably do in the meantime is do like what I'm doing now, like address like 6 or 7 questions at the same time. So I can start to see like what are the big kind of worries that you have, so I can get rid of those worries. This one's interesting, like how will we communicate non-understandings from the readings, etc. I agree with you, right? This is the challenge that we have, and I guess I'll say it 2 ways. So the reason I moved to mostly online format was because of Hurricane Sandy, and we had to go through this whole process. And I was sympathetic because in that classroom, I had about 15 students in 2 different classes who were over the age of 35. So they were really terrified of using new technology. So I wanted to work with them and then at the same time work with young people. But I found out that like students don't have the same understanding of how to use technology universally. So each person has like their own like way of using it. And probably the thing that was like the most interesting to me was this concept of languor, that like when you learn how to do something new, and it could be tech, right? It could be driving a car, it could be reading, it could be, you actually get tired. And so I wanted to be like very careful about how I use technology in a way that would like not exhaust you throughout the process. And so that's why I've kind of settled on these principles, because 2012, right? That was 8 years ago. So the things I use now are all products of that. So one like tool that I've been able to, and I didn't know I was going to be able to do this at the time, just so you know, but one tool I've been able to identify over the last few years are these Google Forms give me a lot of information. And so like if you can be as clear as possible in these Google Forms, it really is easier for me to see where you're struggling and what you totally understand. And then I can compare them to like 3 or 4, and I can kind of see how you're progressing and how you're thinking. So that will tell me a lot about what you are understanding, and then I can kind of figure out from there, what are you still missing? We will probably, if you're really struggling, then that's when I would need to do like a Zoom or something like that in order to have a conversation with you to see like, okay, what is it that you're really like not getting? On the other hand, right, I think I'm learning more and more and to get better and better at like breaking things down through like a video recording like this, so that I can answer these questions that you have and try to make things as clear as possible. So I think that will be okay. I mean, again, I think, I feel really bad for the students who are in like biology right now. I mean, I think that's tough. I mean, I hope you're taking your time, right? I mean, I think that's the hard part. But like classes that have like really super heavy content that are all brand new language, that's tough. This class, especially this class, this is a lot of stuff that you already know. Maybe you don't know you know it, but you're going to find out you know it. And then I'm really just teaching you a couple skills, and then you're going to apply that. So this is like one of those application classes. Like you're going to be applying a lot of the stuff that you've done before. And I noticed that a lot of you have had me before, and you're in my other class. So this should be one of the easier classes that you have. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't work hard. I'm just saying like, don't be stressed about what you don't know in this class. Let's focus on what you do know, and let's like really like follow that hard. I don't see anything else on these that are like, shocking, right? I mean, the midterm will be pretty simple and straightforward. Like everything is going to be changed from the original syllabus, so don't really worry about that syllabus. all I did was take everything from that syllabus and put it into a different order. And then instead of like, I wanted us to do a lot of group work, we're not going to be able to do that, obviously. We're not even allowed to be in groups. So I think like, I wouldn't worry about that. And then just like I saw a few questions about the textbook. Again, right? I give you like 5 readings. I offer this other textbook. It's a free textbook. I mean, and if you have problems with that, let me know, because this is the one that was recommended to me from folks at John Jay. But a couple people at John Jay. I mean, it wasn't the whole group, right? But I don't find textbooks to be helpful. I didn't grow up on textbooks. We didn't really use textbooks on the West Coast in Seattle. I don't really understand when they came about. I don't find them to be useful. A lot of times they don't have accurate information. They're certainly not updated information. There's a lot of errors. But I do realize that some students like just really want them. And so there it is, you know, like you can have it if you want, but I'm not using it. Like I said, I think they're pure garbage. So you don't have to like spend any time thinking about it. I'm going to help you like understand the content through like 3 or 4 different ways. So if you think you need a textbook, then, you know, go for it. But like I said, you don't really need it. I know that's super confusing for some people, but you know, don't get the textbook. But if you must have it, like read it. I'm going to like have you do an assignment pretty soon. You're going to watch a video about critical thinking that I already made, and then you're going to answer, I think it's 2 questions. And that's going to be like kind of a way of checking in with you. And then we'll just go from there. So again, if you have any questions, like you can email me. And you know, that's the Jason M. Leggett, kbcc@gmail.com. So I hope everyone is keeping safe. I hope you're not buying the social media nonsense. I mean, this is a time when just like turn social media off until you feel like you are sane again. To be honest with you, I think Governor Cuomo is doing a good job in keeping the updates. So check in there. WNYC.org is a pretty good source of information. But try not to worry. I mean, things have a way of working themselves out. So I hope that we're all focused and that we're able to do our work. And then just let me know what you need. Cheers.